Well, the Lynch family is very much a part of the John Jay family. And just personally, I've known them long before I became president here at John Jay. Gay, Tim, and Elizabeth are just wonderful people, but really dedicated to this college and the mission of John Jay. So the fact that they are still present in our lives here and that they're continuing to find ways to continue their husband's or father's legacy at John Jay just says a lot about who they are. They're warm, wonderful, caring people, and their devotion to John Jay is really profound and inspirational.
When I think about what was seminal in my father's childhood that might have influenced his role as president of John Jay, I think a few things come to mind. He was the oldest son, and his father died when he was 21, I think, and his mother really turned to him as the male figurehead of the family after that.
He was raised in New York City, which I think had a big impact on him. He was raised in the Bronx, in a working class Irish family. He also was raised in a very devoted Catholic family.
The most memorable for me growing up was hearing stories from my father about his participation in the march from Selma to Montgomery with Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders. It was 1965 and the height of the civil rights era, and he was a graduate student doing a PhD in clinical psychology, and understood, sitting in an academic bubble in New York, that something was happening in the world around him that was his responsibility to be a part of.
But I remember noticing at a really young age that he would speak to great leaders. I remember him meeting with Governor Hugh Carey, then Mayor David Dinkins, and he had a very easy rapport with them, but he would just as easily speak with the person who was working the door at the event or catering, or the person who was homeless in our neighborhood. And he really, I noticed, spoke to everyone the same way, which was to really listen, to really connect. And I think that his larger ideas about human dignity and civil rights and expanding the scope of this university started on that individual level of just recognizing the importance of every individual, regardless of their station in life or whatever other demographics they might on the surface represent.
First and foremost, Jerry Lynch was very committed to the students at John Jay, but more particularly, he was the prime mover behind the creation of the doctoral programs at the college. And our psychology and criminal justice PhD programs really put John Jay in another league as a research-oriented academic institution.
Dr. Lynch was really instrumental in starting the program. He, I think, spearheaded the idea of it back in 1980, and we admitted our first students in 1981. At that time, criminal justice was still a relatively new discipline, and I'm not sure that people really knew what to think about the idea of doctoral education in criminal justice. There were maybe 4 or 5 programs. We currently have about 107 students in the program and over 200 graduates.
So to have a scholarship that allows students, particularly those at the PhD level, to pursue their interests in human dignity and the criminal justice system is a fitting tribute to our third president, Jerry Lynch.
And I think what's very moving for our family in terms of the scholarship fund is that the students that we've met, David and Jung Wong, who have received the scholarship to date, are pursuing just the kinds of topics that would have excited my father.
I think the Lynch scholarships has encouraged me to more enthusiastically conduct research, and also the scholarship helped me expand my range of the research activities. So because I have been working with only with the psychological researchers, so I have had very few opportunities to interact with the researchers in a different field, such as criminal justice. So my major research interest is jury decision making and eyewitness identification.
I'm pursuing a PhD in criminal justice because I've always been interested in the factors the social and institutional factors that foster crime. And I think it's a very powerful field. The scholarship impacted not only my academic studies in terms of being able to advance a little bit in the questions that concern me, but also it has allowed me to establish professional connections.
So the scholarships aim to support international research on human dignity and criminal justice perfectly aligns with my research agenda, so that's why I applied for the Lynch Scholarship.
They're working on projects that have direct relevance for our communities, for the people living and working both here in New York and elsewhere. Some of our students have worked on projects related to police practices. Others have worked looking at the quality of correctional treatment programs. We have students examining mass shootings, looking at factors related to terrorism. And so all of these have a really important impact for understanding why things happen and how to hopefully prevent them.
Now we're in a position to increase this fund so that it can be self-sustaining for the future. Our hope is that my father's legacy will be preserved and that there is no end of need amongst graduate students pursuing innovative research around the world for assistance in funding their research. And we would be honored to think that my father's legacy could continue to sponsor those really incredible research pursuits that so many of the doctoral students and master's students are engaging in.
For us, we can't think of a better way to keep his memory alive, and I think it's clear that it would mean so much to him to know that he was able to continue to give back in this way to John Jay.